O'Brien MacConghail. Thank you for joining us at Souls in Harmony. It's a pleasure to have you on. Apologies for full naming you.
Yeah, well, I consented, so
you did, yeah.
My mistake.
This was discussed. Thank you very, very much for joining.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Just as a little bit of background on Naoise. Naoise is he is a bass player, or certainly as I first met you, you were a bass player, but you're also a guitarist and a vocalist, and you've started learning drums. You're a composer at Gaeilgeoir. You play a lot of Irish or music in the Irish language, I guess, with your dad.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
You
can do a sick kick flip.
Yeah, I can do really like high kicks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, amazing hip flexibility.
Is that what you meant by kick flip?
No. I was talking about skateboarding.
Yeah, I can't do that.
You do, yeah, you have surprising hip mobility for a tall man. And
I will show it off at any opportunity.
That'll be great on the podcast.
Yeah.
If you would.
No, it's, yeah.
So, thank you very much for joining. As some people may not be aware of, Naoise and I have been friends for a couple of years, playing music in college originally together. And Naoise is actually the reason that I started the podcast, because at some point we were just talking about music and it started getting into more hand gestures than words. We just stopped being able to describe some stuff, and so started gesturing, but seemed to still be on the same page. And I was like, yeah, this guy gets it. Yeah, and I was really enjoying it.
We've had some nice conversations. You have the habit of giving me lifts places, so we
end up with time on our hands. Yeah,
ample opportunity.
I think it was a conversation about recording quality, or like it's not even like the fidelity of the audio, if it's like uncompressed or not. It wasn't even that. It was like the immediateness of what was like what was going on in the mix that like really attracted us to. Like, you sent me a Blake Mills album.
And
I listened to that and I was like, yeah, everything feels like it's not having to be processed by my brain before I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just immediately touching you. Yeah,
it's going straight in. Yeah. I think that was the conversation where I was like, Naoise does stuff and knows stuff about lots of stuff. So the I guess let's start somewhere easy. What have you been listening to recently, or what have you been enjoying that is like the thing? What's is there an example in a recording or in a something you've been listening to that you're just like, oh, that's exactly what I love, that's something that I get on with? Anything you're listening to at the moment?
Well, we were talking about Sean Carpio there, and I've been listening to most of the things that he's been involved with, and I've been getting lessons with him, and he's been talking a lot about kind of like finding meaning in the thing that you're playing, and that being where like kind of like transmitting your feelings into the thing that you're playing. And when I first saw him, I didn't realize that that's what was happening, but I felt it immediately.
Yes.
So I was at Electric Picnic was it like 2 weekends ago, and I noticed like that was something I was paying attention to then, and like like mostly drummers, but
yes,
the bands that I was seeing, like whether it's the way they move or just you get it by looking at them, but that what they're playing just has this communicative thing in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whether it's like they're just playing this one note every 20 seconds and everyone else is playing the song.
Yeah.
Or they're the kind of, they're playing the main musical thing, but yeah, like I've been paying a lot of attention to that and realizing how, well, yeah, I suppose how valuable it is and how it can be found in a lot of places, but in some places it's not there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I realized maybe why that music isn't as appealing to me, even though it, it grooves
it's
or
like
whatever,
sterile.
but it doesn't have it's not like, it doesn't sound like that person.
Yeah.
It's just music and notes, and which are always, it's always good, but
doesn't have the hidden quality of being like doesn't kind of carry its own attitude with it, or carry its own sort of
like that there is like a message to the thing, even if it's not like you're trying to push your agenda or anything, but just it is coming from somewhere.
There's a oh man, this guy's name has gone out of my head. He's an Unreal bass player. He teaches in Berkeley. He plays with Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. We're gonna cut all of this. I'm gonna immediately say the name, and everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, Aaron's got a lot of references to hand." Victor Wooten.
You were thinking of Victor Wooten.
I was thinking of Victor
I didn't even bother bringing him
because
up.
you were like, Aaron would know the name Victor Wooten.
He played with Bella Fleck.
He plays still, I think. Yeah,
that's delightful.
Yeah, but he has this. I don't know if you've read the book, The Music Lesson, and he talks about like most people only talk about like 3 or 4 of the qualities of music, but there's an awful lot more to every note that you play than just, for example, pitch and rhythm, and in the case that he gave, dynamics. It's like they tend to be the big 3 because they're really easy to notate on paper, but that doesn't include, for example, feel, or that doesn't include like the shape of the note that you play. Like the shape of a note that you pluck with your finger is very different to with a plectrum, or to slapping it, like the actual immediacy, or a slap is a really hard quick hit that dies off quite quickly, whereas a pick gives you a lot of sustain, but it's also loud and getting slowly softer, whereas your finger is a much more even strike, or whatever. Like he goes into like the 12 aspects of music, I think. God, it's been a while since I read the book. I hope I'm not misquoting that. But yeah, he talks about this thing that's like, it's unwritten in music, and we don't tend to talk about it because we've come up with like a system for discussing music that really only has those 3 things. It's like dynamics, rhythm, and pitch. They're the 3 things you can easily put on a piece of paper, but they don't, like you can write vibrato, but what does that mean? Is it a sad wailing vibrato, or is it like a really funky kind of a fast vibrato? Or like those things are just are fully in the hands of the musician, and not so much in the hands, say, of the composer, if just composing on paper. But yeah, that kind of feels close to what you're talking about with the playing with meaning, or playing with intention to communicate something.
Yeah, or like I noticed, I was practicing earlier, and doing this thing where like I'm playing the same thing just for however long it takes, basically, until I find that feeling, or like there is like some meaning in it. And I've kind of noticed that like a byproduct of that is that I am then paying attention to all of these other things. Because as in I notice like as in I think I'm playing in time and this feels good, but whatever, and then I start paying attention to like the snap of the hi-hat. And like and then I'm like, oh, and then I'm in it, and then I'm in the sound, and then it's like and there's each day it could be something different. But yeah, I got a lesson with Sean Maynard Smith, and he was talking about like playing, if you're just playing like one note and paying attention to all the different things you can, like how hard you're hitting the string. And or like just exploring all the different aspects of each thing. And because there is so much detail, and it is all worth paying attention to, is it? Like it's all available. So you're kind of just being maybe ignorant if you're not gonna deal with all of the
you're box ticking if you're not actually focusing on it. You're just getting it out there. It's what would it be? It's like being a litter bug of the musical world. You're just like, done with that, done with that, done with that.
Yeah,
chuck it
and
out.
it's kind of, what's the point, you know?
Yeah. If one aspect of the experience of playing music were taken away from your experience, what would be the thing that, were it taken, would make music pointless for you? What is the thing within playing music that makes it worth it? Sort of ask that question in a subtractive way first that made less sense than just asking. Yeah.
Well, I remember I had the thought a while ago, or I noticed, like, I'd been spending so much time, like thinking about rhythm, basically.
Yeah.
And doing a lot of leg slapping and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
you know yourself. But and then I saw some gig, don't remember what it was, but there was like a horn player, and they're just playing. Obviously, there's rhythm in it, but they're not like they aren't part of the rhythm section,
Yeah.
and they're just playing melodies. And I started getting so into or just like the different shapes they were creating, like with the different melodies. I went, oh, like you could just spend your entire, time here just focusing on like the notes and just the
you could become
these intervals and
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about, well, yeah, as in every, or yeah, because I keep like floating between different instruments and. And obviously like finding new ideas and stuff to practice. And, it's great that you can swap and everything, but there seems to be like no limit to the amount of focus you can put on one aspect of it.
Yes, yeah.
So like probably I would take any of them any day and I would be happy.
Yeah.
And then, so obviously you're playing with other people, which is...
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the greatest things about it. Like, I think that's true for most people. But then, like, either yourself or seeing someone else do it where they're just playing by themselves and what they can do and how amazing it is that it is just their message or their thing, and, like, how they're trying to execute, like, a fully formed idea.
Yeah.
Just on their own. And that's, fascinating.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't you could keep pushing that forever. It's not like just because you have if you have more people there's more possibilities and everything, but it's kind of just one corner of it.
Yes, I get you.
As in it's not like you are limited by yourself, as in by just playing on your own, but kind of, as we know, if you put limits on something, it makes you explore
more interesting,
I guess, like certain parts of it. So I think
I get the sense a lot of the time when I talk to you that if you had a choice between being able to play music, like if you had to either never play music again or never talk/communicate with regular language again, you might take music.
Well,
the fact that it's a question that you're like,
well, as in, it would be a good challenge, like.
It would be interesting, yeah.
As in, because you'd imagine, or you start thinking about, like replacing your like everyday communications with music. Yeah. And like just getting people kind of willing to interpret that.
Yes, yeah.
Making some kind of system, which sounds fun.
Which is fun, yeah. I mean, it happens on stage all the time. It's that someone does something and you're like, I think I know what you mean.
Yeah. That's like
I get you, yeah. Even stuff like the noises. Like the first thing that I thought of was like trying to buy a loaf of bread at like a store, like old timey. This doesn't happen anymore because Tesco. But like
timey.
you go into like a corner shop and you're like, can I have a loaf of bread, please? But you're not allowed to say words. You're like, can I have a loaf of bread? Like you can't even do that. That's English.
Yeah.
You just have to be like,
Yeah. And no, like people, there are a lot of weirdos out there. Like people who are working in like, like the people who work in Lidl are ready for anything.
They've trained their whole life for this.
Like anyone can walk into that shop.
There's a lot of weirdos out there.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, actually, as in, I think I might take the music.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Or because no, it's so unreal as a
yes,
question.
it's not a fair
that
idea.
I feel like my feelings aren't even accurate. But my feelings are music.
Yes, yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah, as in, I think because you can, especially like with people that anyway, like there's a lot of range in like physical touch and communication that I think you wouldn't be like extremely limited.
Yeah.
As in, like, yeah, I think you could still express yourself.
I think when it comes to, with that sort of a thing, when it comes to communicating ideas of emotion or feeling, you're possibly in a better place than the use of the English language, because you're not having to use words that are abstractions from the true thing that are interpreted.
Like, but words mean so many things to different, or like you don't know what someone, like if someone sits down and explains to you how they feel, you don't know how they feel.
No, yeah, you
like
are
ever, as in you're closer,
yes,
or at least you're trying then to
empathize. Yeah,
but obviously like
giving directions suddenly very difficult. What's north? Like, oh yeah, north. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, like 5 minutes right to the right. Yeah, no problem. 5 minutes. Like,
yeah,
the old Irish directions. It's not like a kilometer down the road, take a left. It's like 5 minutes that way and then head towards the beach. Yeah. Like it's a fucking island, buddy. Giving time with no relationship to distance or speed is.
I remember I was in the Czech Republic in June, for like most of the month, and there's loads of music over there, as in the folk tradition is like there's always someone with a guitar, and always people who know the tunes, like there's a big kind of library of music that people know, and most of it's very upbeat sounding at the very least. I don't speak Czech, I don't know the words, but but I'm there at like the different bonfires. I'm like, lads, you don't want this. I only know songs about dead people. Because I've been meaning to learn some songs that like people can like enjoy when they're having fun, and it like adds to it. Yeah. But so far I'm just really working on the the one minor chord for 6 minutes and just words. But it's who we are, I think, over here.
It is a little bit
like
the national identity that is like tragedy.
Yeah. And then they all died. What a song.
There's did you ever watch The Other Guys, the Will Ferrell film? It's like that bit where they're in the pub and they keep tapping Will Ferrell on the shoulder to like join in with their singing. They're like singing old Irish music, and it's like, and all our wives are dead, and the children all got pink eye. And that's just like, it's a little bit hurtfully true that Irish music does live in a place of death a lot of the time.
Yeah, like my girlfriend who was Czech, like she was asking me about it. I'm like, that is, or at least like the feeling that I've had from other people that I've spoken to about it, or at least just from watching them have the experience as well, is that it is very uplifting. Yeah. And it does feel really good.
It's meant to tie you together with people.
And like, as it is coming from a place of oppression and all that jazz.
It's genuine.
So it's kind of functional music in that sense. But I know, as in that there's a lot of joy in that, like, one minor chord and all those horrible words about horrible events, or beautiful words about horrible events.
Yes. What got you into music?
I think I always remember singing. So as in,
It was
like, yeah, like 5 or 6. I remember I was singing.
Yeah.
So, like, my dad sings, so I think he would, like, have, many memories of him singing, like, the same Shano songs really, really loudly, because I think he had no thought of, like, volume, or like, that's the volume I know them at, which is enough to fill a room.
This song exists at this volume only.
As in, that does seem as in, otherwise I don't know what was going on. But yeah, no, I always enjoyed that. And then, yeah, I think, and it was almost immediately, or like very early on, I was very taken with the idea of, like, singing all the time for people.
Yeah.
And that being what I did.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything else kind of taking that focus, or is it, it's not like there were loads of other things pulling at me.
Yeah. Did you play guitar first?
No. Singing and then bass.
Okay.
Like, my friend Killian, who I was in school with in primary school in Dublin, like, when I came back from Kerry, he played guitar, and he was into, like, metal and rock music and stuff.
Yeah.
And he had a bass, so I would kind of just, like, look at him and figure it out. And then I think, within a year I'd convince my parents to get me a bass.
Nice.
When
did you decide to be a musician? Or was it even a decision? Was it just always what was going to happen?
I think it was always, or, like, as in, it never got contradicted, or if that's the word, as in.
Yeah. I just kept doing it, and no one ever told me to stop. Yeah.
Or as in, I know, like, the thought, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I wouldn't actually do this for, like, or I think that the first time I actually questioned not doing it was, like, I might have already done my not done my leaving cert, rather, but
okay,
did that year.
You were doing the CAO.
Yeah. Or other than, like, even after doing that, I'd never occurred to me that I wouldn't.
Okay.
But then my friend Luke, like, we were in town, and we were talking about, music mainly, I suppose, and he said that, like, he wouldn't want to do it professionally because he loves it for what it is.
Yeah.
And that's his.
I get that.
Like that's the joy he gets from it. And that's the first time that I was, because I, like, kind of, especially at the time, I really kind of valued, as in, like Luke's older than me, so I would always kind of be really interested in what he thought about things, because I was, like, very much still foreign. Like, I knew I liked music, and I knew I enjoyed certain things, but I didn't really have, like, ideas about my own life or, like, the world and stuff. So I think it was in that period, and I was like, oh, so maybe that would apply to me as well. And then I was like, oh no, there's no way that that's a funny thought, but yeah, it's like, what would I be doing? And it's only recently, though, that I've come to realize that I'd be happy doing some job, whatever it would be, just because then I could just spend all my time practicing aside from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's never really been.
I mean, that sounds like you found it. I mean, that sounds like, that's the thing that I think a lot of people, me included, did not, like or did not want was that like I might not make money from this. You know, like I remember being like 25 or whatever and being like, I may never make money from this, and I hate that. I have to find a way to be able to survive because I just don't want to do anything else, and I feel like I don't want to do anything else. I'm not willing for music not to be profitable. Like I at the time I was like in my head, it's like it has to make money. If it's not making money, then I may as well just work a job as well. You know, like it was a really entitled point of view. I'm better now. I don't think it'll ever make money now, and I love it.
Yeah,
but like, yeah, that's a good place to be coming from.
Yeah, and like I think another conversation that me and Luke had was or like I was trying to, or I was thinking a lot about like why I wanted to be at a certain level.
Yeah,
you know, that it wasn't just I like doing this. I was like, is it good enough, or is it so I can be good enough that I can work?
Yeah,
and it was like, because I can do that now, as in I can go and like join a wedding band and I can do pub gigs, and it's not that hard. Like you have to be a professional, but musically it's like not really like a thing, you know, to some degree anyway. But and I've lost my train of thought. But like as in that it's not like the being successful thing is just like having the time to work at it, and like because working at it is the thing, as in I love playing gigs, but like in the past year I've realized that it's just a part of it, you know, as in it is just the process of working at it, which has made the gigs all the more enjoyable now, because I'm not like I'm just playing music, I'm not doing a gig, and I'm it means something, and I sometimes this makes me feel really good, so I better not mess it up.
Putting pressure on the performance of the gig is rough, like.
And it's just like another version, you know, like,
it's just practice with less practice, you know. It's
and I've only recently started kind of separating practice but like from playing, but you are just playing music. It's just another like iteration of you doing that. But as in I realized that any money I would make would be to make it kind of simpler for me to spend all my time practicing. But that I would be completely happy if I had, you know, instruments and I was just like sitting there in my underwear with no like objects and
like when I arrived.
You found me at a prime time, filthy, you know,
shirtless, shower hanging out the window. Like, hello,
did you bring any food? But as in that, I think it's or imagine that it's just complicated to be looking for some kind of, I suppose, like economical success through something that you love.
Trying to get anything out of music, like putting the expectation on music to give you something, is actually just going to kill music for you, I think, in a way. Like if it's not its own end, then it's
and like I heard Pat Metheny talking about this, and he said a couple of things, and one of them was that the reason why he still, as the absolute master that he is, gets up at 5 o'clock every day and practices all day, and like he has to do that, is because you as in you can be Bach, as in you can as in that is one of the options, is that you just put in, as in maybe Bach is a weird example because kind of like prodigious and all that kind of like a, you know, but
you can,
as in
be
like
this
he is
master.
the bar, as in like you can always be that much better, which is kind of nice to hear, as like because that is the feeling. I'm like, you can always learn more of this stuff. Like if you learn something and get better at it, you can then proceed to do that more.
Yeah. And it is actually simple. Like it's very hard when you look at all of it, but like looking at being able to play 8 notes strung together at like a certain BPM together, you know, you can just get better and better and better at that. Like that is very simple once you know them.
Yeah.
You know?
And and there is no like ceiling to it, which means that you can't just like you're never gonna get to all of it as well.
Yeah.
So
it's when we try and force the music to do something, or certainly, sorry, I'm speaking for myself, but it's when I try and force the music to do something, when I look to put on a show, because I like putting on a show and that's something I love.
You're very good at it.
But when I look to try and put on a show with the music, with the ability I have for myself, I end up disappointed in myself, in my own ability, or disappointed in the show that came out of me struggling to reach those. You know, like it's that setting of an external goal that can't really be measured by anything but my own feelings about it that is damaging, you know?
Yeah. The idea of trying to get something specific out of the experience.
Yeah.
You're just fucking
what are
it
you
up for
doing?
yourself.
What are you doing? Like, yeah. I want to go bungee jumping because I'd like to have a religious experience. It's like, that's not why.
I'm going to go up there and I'm going to see God.
Yeah. Like, it's just not, it's not fair. Yeah. It's not, and not normal either. You don't do that when you go shopping, you know? You go shopping to go get food, like daily things. It's like you don't do that when you sit down or when you go and take a shower. You sit down to watch TV. You don't go, I'm going to watch TV so that I feel like a smarter person. Or I don't get in the shower and be like, you know, the shower is the shower. You do it for the reason you do it, but it's not to get another thing.
Well,
you know?
Yeah, like
to make music, you go make music. That's what you do, you know?
I heard Alan Watts talking about the concept of like, I think he called it pure action.
Yes. Yeah. I've read about this. I haven't heard it.
So like, you know, acting for the sake of acting.
Yes.
You know, like doing something like the way you would when you're like dancing or playing music, as in you're not dancing to get to like a certain spot on the floor.
Yeah.
You know, you're dancing to like do the thing right now.
Yeah.
Do that experience or live that experience.
So same thing. I think it was Alan Watts. I can't remember, but he was talking about. I'm nearly positive it was in his book. He was talking about Zen or mindfulness, which is theoretically mindless action, but you can't focus on being mindless because then you're being mindful of being mindless.
Yeah,
it's this whole circle. He was like, I know everyone's going to walk like smack bang into this contradiction and say that Zen is impossible or whatever, but he's like, no. The mere fact that your focus was on doing something for you that was this way, that is Zen. Zen is not the seeking of an end result, but the doing of an action and the focus on doing an action. That is what it is. It's not. It's taking something away from its end results. It's taking the outcomes out of it and just being the process. If you're focused on the process, you're not focused on the outcomes, and you can't get hurt. You know.
And I think it is funny how, like I'm not really paying attention to it, but I've kind of noticed how it seems, or at least my perception anyway, which I guess is the only important thing, you know, as in if you perceive something as a positive thing, then it is, you know. But
for sure.
But the less I worry about something going well, the better the things seem to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like kind of almost comically.
Yeah.
And like we'll see if it lasts, but I kind of noticed how, but if it is just my perception, which is almost like the more interesting thing, like just the fact that if you are detaching yourself from like a goal or something, then you are, it's not like you're not achieving anything, you are just constantly achieving something, if you want to look at it that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you are just proceeding.
It's the wrong language. Achievement is the wrong language. But I get you. Yeah. If that is all you wish to do, then you have done it, you know.
But kind of, it kind of sounds like a contradiction now, but to what we were talking about. But one of the other things that Pat Metheny was saying, like he did a podcast with Corey Wong.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Great
I haven't
stuff.
heard it, but yeah.
And you know, like one of the things you said was that like the more that you put into music,
Yeah.
the more you will get out of it. As in, it's one of these, like, or the reason why, you know, he's so happy to spend all of his time doing it, or the reason why it's very, like, why he's kind of set on doing that constantly is that it does just, it's like an endless thing, you know, and like I've started to notice that more and more, like the more focus you put on it, you know, because there are, like, as we were saying before, there are all these details that you can explore in, you know, any given note or passage or something, and you know, like, yeah, like the more time you spend looking at it, the more you'll realize there is to know about something,
it's bottomless,
you know, which is just, you know, really handy, I suppose.
yeah, like there's, you know, if you're coming at it from a sense of wanting to know everything, that's terrifying. But if you're coming at it from a point of view of, I really love this is something I like, this is, you know, this is part of my day and is done because it is part of me. That's it. It's not an end goal or whatever.
Used to freak me out.
That's great.
But now it's
I had to get away from learning goals in order to enjoy music, for sure.
Yeah, or it seems like, you know, we were talking kind of at the beginning, I think, about you know, like finding meaning in the thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, if the more you focus on one aspect, like the more meaningful it is to you.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing that's worth playing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
As in like that like you play that thing and it's one of the 100 things and no one's going, oh, he didn't play the other 99 things. He played that thing and it was great.
Yeah.
You know,
and
that's the, because obviously, like, as we all know, like music isn't a competitive thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you kind of, and like if you're studying music and you get scared about all the different things there are to know, you know, which is like at least been my experience of like, oh, like should I even be spending my time like trying to learn all this stuff?
The guilt at enjoying one thing to the detriment of another, or
like, oh, I spent too long practicing this one thing because I have to cover all these things for my next class. Like, it's kind of completely abstract or irrelevant to the thing.
It's artificial. It's not. That's not music. That's academics. Like,
But
last question. How is your relationship with music at the moment?
Fantastic.
Great,
I suppose. As in, I think it always has been, but a while ago I started to feel like the kind of genuine obsession thing creeping up.
Cool.
Like, as in I've just gotten used to spending time doing it now, so I have to spend that time, you know, because I find it very, very rewarding. And I've been, you know, been practicing the drums, which is kind of a new thing for me, and it's, you know, not completely removed, but there aren't notes, there aren't harmony, you know.
But there's so much feel within drums. Like,
it's like a very physical thing.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, you can pay that much attention to it with other instruments, but with drums, it's kind of the point is, and you can't play them unless you're very aware of your body.
Yeah.
You know?
I remember hearing, I want to say it was Ari Honig, but it could well have been someone else who's unreal. But I remember hearing them talking in a podcast about things that affect the feel of drums that no one else will notice, but they'll all feel, they'll all understand.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's like, one of them is like, he was like Tony Williams. Actually, I may be misquoting him, but I'm going to say Tony Williams. It's like his hi-hat, from the moment that it starts to descend to the moment that it claps, is a really short period of time. It's that's a short period of time, but everyone feels that immediacy. It feels like a push. It feels like oh crap, we're late, you know, like that kind of a hurry sort of. But he's like, but Art Blakey takes a long time from the time that he starts pressing that pedal. Like he's so
cruising,
relaxed.
Like,
And even in the fastest tempos, because you hear him play these things so fast, but he's like, even at the fastest tempos, that's a slow settle down into the snap or whatever. And he's like, these are things that no other instrument has a direct corollary for or whatever, because the drums is an immediate instrument, but it's extremely feel based, whereas like every other instrument for the most part has distractions from the feel, whether it be pitch or like all of these things that can affect how you're actually playing. Even just technique, just genuinely getting to the note can affect your right hand on the guitar. Right hand, if you're right-handed, like can affect the way that you go for a note. You may only just get there, but
so I've been having since I am just like sitting there really focusing on, as in it's almost kind of like meditating or something, like when you're sitting there and you're breathing for like 20 minutes straight. Feels great.
Yeah.
Like existing is great. Like breathing is a very enjoyable thing. Like when I'm sitting there playing the drums and then, after like a while and I'm just like smiling, just doing it, and so it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like, or I kind of understand it more, as in I knew that I loved music. I knew that I always enjoyed it. I love listening to it. I love playing it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's clearer to me what is important to me, or like the kind of aspects that really resonate with me.
Yeah.
Which just makes me really excited about practicing it, I suppose. But yeah, before it was, I think, more opaque or something. So yeah, it feels kind of clearer, which is nice, because there is a lot to pay attention to, but
it's very Kenny Werner of you, very effortless mastery, the sitting and breathing, like that's, I mean, he's right, that is, you've got one thing you love, which is music, and you've got another thing you just do, and if you do them together, you just love what you do, like that. Not having fear, not wanting something specific, but playing and getting to enjoy what you're playing, not judging what you're playing. And it's like,
and that's like and then doing that in front of people. And then because like people get that.
Absolutely.
It's like, and when it's not there, you're like, oh, as in this sounds good, but then when it is there, you're not even maybe thinking about it as well, but you feel it.
The zone, or whatever you want to call it. But
just that kind of, I don't know, like on the pulse or something, like on, kind of straight to the point, or like there's no, it is in pursuit of that feeling as opposed to anything else.
Mainlining it rather than
straight to the vein.
Exactly. No, I know what you mean. I can't come up with a better term, but
no, I think makes sense to me.
Well, look, thank you very, very much for coming on the podcast, Naoise.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
I really, I mean,
a funny surprise.
I just turned up at your house. You were nude, and we just
almost nude.
Almost nude,
but filthy.
Like you'd been rolling around outside. It's so strange seeing you covered in twigs and branches and tufts of hair.
Get used to it,
Coming soon.
Coming by unannounced. Like, it's gonna be freaky.
To a theater near you. All right. Well, look, I will. Thank you very, very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. And chat to you soon.
Yes.